Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Today we will cover a small topic first, that is about scheduling. If you go to Atom Management and enter your Atom, this cloud icon, and go to runtime under that deployed process. This is from here where you can set up schedules for your integration, where you allow it to be. Let's see, if I just click on the drop down here, I can click on Edit Schedules. I can add simple ones like this from the type based on minute, hour, day or advanced. If you know, and it would tell me how I'm allowing it to run every 3 hours on 5 out of 7 days. I can disable like this, make it more random like this. We can do all these things. What does interval meaning here? Frequency of the integration run. How frequently do you want it to run? Means retreat. Retreat. Suppose you want your integration to start at midnight and end at 11 p.m. Now, between this duration, how frequently should your integration run? Like it defines that unit like every hour. In case of this hour type, it is this hour. This interval becomes that unit basically. If I change it to 2 every 2 hours, it would mean starting at 12 am. Every 2 hours, it would run every day. It is nothing but the unit of like frequency, you can say, of this category. Now if I switch it to minute 1 and if I say interval here I make it 10, it would mean 10 minutes. It's just like a unit and frequency kind of thing, interval basically. How frequently should it run? You can set it up for day also. You can set it up. And Rishi, what will be the timeout in this case? You are saying? I mean, how can we set the timeout for a process? Timeout. As in, we can fix the time, in this time period that the process should complete. You cannot control that. that it should only be running in this much time frame here. Because again about you do not know the amount of data that will be fetched in real time by your API. There is no configuration again. You can do that by doing some advanced configurations, but we never do that because the whole purpose of designing these integrations and everything is to allow it to be flexible with the amount of data that is flowing in. Because some days you might have like just 5 records coming in, or some day it might be just like 100. There could be a day they are refreshing your whole data set or something. There you could have like thousands of millions of records. If you set up such advanced configuration of timeout, then your integration is bound to fail. We have the timeout option and all, but it's a little complex setup, and for API is related. Not for this, we never touch it for integrations. Usually unless we are like completely sure it's only going to be like, very few set of records, and we know the exact time frame it is going to happen in. Then go ahead. The time zone in which it is going to run is your atom's time zone. You might end up like scheduling it here like this, in your local time zone, but it will be redirected to your UTC. If you give 6 p.m. every day, it will be in UTC. You always need to, use this time zone conversion websites to configure this correctly. If you set up something like this 6 p.m. every day, and if you go and just simply, once your integration starts executing, let's do the test only. I click on. Always remember it takes a minute or two to load to save it. Do not be like very quick with it. It will take a while. All is like up to 30-40 seconds to configure this. If you want to, there is another option where you can configure it advanced level. Where you have very random requirement of like allowing it to run in some peculiar schedules, you can easily configure it using advanced approach. if it has to run on some odd days or just even days, these kind of things. Now, if there is a scenario to execute the process every 45 minutes, how will we configure that? We'll have to set up multiple schedules. It would become something like this. Rishi, for every 45 minutes. Can we just use the simple weekend here? A minute sign interval will be 45. If you do that, the valid and we can only have 30 maximum. That is why the advance comes into picture. And now they just want you to run it only on, weekdays, not on weekends. Now you control it like this. And it's suppose you are running some finance related integration. You do not want it to run on 1st and 31st, 31st. You want it only 28 or 29. You cannot configure that in this one regular one. If you want to control on which ones it is supposed to run, these kind of configurations. Usually when we are handling this using advanced scheduling, some months we have 31, some months we have 30 days. We split it into two advanced schedules, one which runs on 30 and one which runs on 31st. If we have a requirement to run it, that process should run every 1.5 hours. First schedule, you will be used to configure the schedule for year 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Second schedule will be used for the hours at 30. Did it make sense? Yes, if you look at it first, it will run at every like year 3, 6. Essentially like with every 3 hours kind of thing. I see, and then it is splitting into 1.5 hour between 3 hours. Yes, now I will configure it to execute 30 minutes past that top hour, basically between 0 and 3. I will configure it to run at 147. If I configure it at 1 and 30, like this, it would execute at 1:30. first integration. It starts at after 1.5 hour. That becomes at 10:30 am. Then you have this schedule, first one. This one where it is running at again 3 after 3. Again it will come back to the second schedule. It will run at 4:30. Then again after 4:30 another, you add another 1.5 hour. It will come back at 6 p.m. or like say 6 am, whatever it is. Then again it will come back to 7:30 after 7 to 30. If you add another 1.5, it will become 9. Did you get the sync in which it is happening? Yes, Rishi, like that it works good. It will check them sequentially. Yes, basically it won't check on its own. It will not know. This is how you define it sequentially. You can say because when you're configuring, you cannot put 1.5 hour here, it exceeds it. You split it to run that way. Rare chance getting such complex scheduling of 1.5 hour something. Usually the kind of schedules that you get is basically for, odd or even number day like 30, 31st, where you have to generate a report towards the month end, something like that. If you look at the examples here, it will give you some brief understanding where they are saying the execution should happen only 4 times a year, runs at 12 am on 1st of month in March, June, September, December, towards the end of quarter or something. You want to run this integration. You would configure it like this: minute 0, hour 0, again star mark days of the month first and on which month it is supposed to run. Rishi, for example, if we schedule the process for to run from 1st to 30th of the month, since we don't know that every month have some 30 and 31st, then we will have another schedule which will run for 31st of the day of the month. Will be 31st and with similar hour and minute configuration, whatever it is, but just only for 31st. If you have a requirement for it to run on it 2 days on it 2 schedules, can we schedule it from 0 to 31st without worrying about if a month have 30 days or 30 days? If I leave it something like this, then it would run at 10 am every day, basically. Now, if it comes on 30th, it would run. Since there would not be any 31st day, it would not trigger it for that day, but it would handle it. But I would say try it with this. If it doesn't work, what you can do is set up another schedule where you control it, something like this. You know you control it this way, but it's not needed. Always try to ensure your schedule is simple and straightforward majority of the times, unless they ask you to schedule it for two different times. If you can allow your integration to run extra, then allow it to run. Otherwise, you can configure it that way. Now, we did this configuration here to run every 2 minutes. Now, if you look at it, it's been running every 2 minutes, 82, 24.26, 28.830. It will show up again here in our machine's time zone with this, but behind the scenes it will run in the atom's time zone. It is converting into Indian profile. Whatever configuration you do here, do not assume. I don't think you can do that because these are online data centers. You cannot change that. You have to use wherever because it is your server's time, where your server is configured and connected to the internet and everything. You should always assume for it to be UTC. No, if you are running, if you are having a data center somewhere in Asia, then you will assume the time zone of that place of the data center. If it's in US somewhere, then you will, assume it is somewhere in that central time zone. You have. You are connecting with, suppose, say, some SAP application where you are getting employees' data and you are sending it to the system in another time zone. There will be scenarios like that. That is where you need to handle your scheduling in such a manner, either to source's preference or to the target application's preference, because like there can be chances, like your data is not loaded into source system itself. It gets updated only at certain time frame, or target system does not want your data before this time frame that it generates, correct reports or something like that before later. You have to take that as well into consideration. Like suppose your target system, this is in UTC. Suppose and your integration will run at 12 p.m. in UTC. Suppose this one target application is in C60 somewhere. It can accept data only after 10 am. Before that, it is generating reports. And similarly for your source system, suppose India, they are loading data only after work hours, after 6:30 p.m. Office is 9 to 6 kind of thing. You only have a limited time slot here for this integration to be scheduled. You always have to, find a common time frame for scheduling in between. You will have to schedule it at 2:30 am basically every day. Arij, can you show me the chat again? You are using UTC from between the common ground. Thank you. You'll have to tailor it a little to find a common time frame, and suppose it is packed. Then you try to. In the short time frame you want to run your integration, then you run your parallel processing and everything. Where in your integration you set a parallel processing to speed up the process. Before you know the business hours begin. Correct, it will complete faster. And I think we have yet to learn that part. Now always ensure to stop schedules when you are not using. It should always usually have this orange pause icon. Couple of years back, there was someone in the team. They did a mistake. Integration. It was some. We were generating Power BI reports, essentially for business, and pushing data to database. It was around holidays like December 25th to Jan 1st. We were not supposed to allow the integration to run. They missed that and it ended up loading data during that holiday time frame also. There is fog too, positive schedules that cause a lot of unnecessary data load, and other teams had to come and purge the data and everything. Be very careful when you are scheduling your integrations. Always taking consideration of 30, 31 days and time zone. Otherwise, there will be a lot of mess ups happening because your application teams would be expecting data in a certain time frame or time exact time. But if you do not calibrate for these kind of things, you would end up sending it at some different time and that data would get obsolete. I have a question for not running the integration on a specific date. For example, you have mentioned the Christmas time. Is it something that we will get as a requirement from the source team or the application team that we do not want data for these days? Like there can be cases where they have their whole holiday calendar and they say we do not want it to run on these days. There you have two options. Either you make your configuration that way that those days are skipped, or you allow someone you know a day or two before to just configure it to not run it. Just stop this for that day. Pause it. Do we have option in our advanced settings to escape the integration for a specific date? We have an option to run on a specific date of the month. Not to escape. You do not have to. The pausing, the integration is the only option. You can escape it. 1, 3, 4, 5. Let's take the example of the Christmas weekend. Select the month as the 12th. Let's skip for the Christmas week. On 12th to 31st. Now on 1 to 24th of December, it will run at 10 am every day. You see, first we will check the first that we have scheduled that we have made, which is for all the year, and then for that every time it will check for the summer as well, or we have to make it for the to run only 1 to 11 months. Let's remove it. First one will be from another schedule till November. You have to bring it here, 10 am. If you want it to run on like weekdays, weekdays. If you want it to run every day, now 1 to 11. You'll have two schedules. Now put this schedule on top. Leave that thing. That's fine. Basically, you can configure these two basically like this. Now it is controlled. Thank you. Ensure then you keep this advanced schedule on top that every day doesn't unnecessarily go for this condition check. If none of it meets, then it will come down to this one. Ensure whatever your main schedule is, which is running most frequently, that stays on top. It's like saving up on processing time, basically nothing more. Now in your production. Usually we handle an integration itself. We open it for running every weekend, add time scripts in it due for downtime maintenance window. But just in case, if you want to set up retries. We rarely use a retry here. But suppose, every weekend your Workday application has a downtime. suppose for like 2 hours or 1 hour, something like that. You can set up a retree here schedule where it will retree your integration. But we generally avoid using this. We ensure we are handling retree mechanisms and everything in the integration itself. We only have basic execution logics here. We ensure that. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.